And our next guest here on the OKPreps Recruiting Report, we're here at Bixby High School sitting down with Bixby senior Reis Vernon, a kicker and a punter and an All-American. We're definitely going to get into that as Reis participated in the Adidas U.S. Army All-American game down in San Antonio earlier this month. But before we get to that, we definitely have to give you some respect. You and the Bixby Spartans winning another state championship. Man, how much fun was this season? Because not only did you guys raise another gold ball, but you did something that's never been done here before, and you did it in a perfect fashion with no losses all year long.
Yeah, it was an amazing season. I mean, all these guys were really bought in, and we knew we could do it ever since kind of the first summer workout. We kind of just all bought into it. I mean, every day practice was, going hard, and it's kind of a sad season too. I've played with these guys, these seniors, playing some sort of sport with them since first grade. So growing up with them and knowing this is our last season was kind of a sad deal as well.
Was there a game, when you look back on this season, was there a game where you were standing there and you realized, this is special. Like what we're a part of, what we're doing, this is a special group, a special team.
Yeah, I knew. I'll be honest with you. I kind of knew since summer workouts this team was going to be special. But if I had to pick a game, it'd probably be Jinx. Is when it really set the tone. Like, man, we can really do this. Like, we can really go all the way.
Yeah, I think that it was kind of apparent after that because obviously you go on the road and you beat Jinx and you beat them the way you did, and obviously you're going to get the attention of everybody after you do something like that. But when I talked with Coach Montgomery and I talked with some of the players after that game, you guys weren't very surprised that happened, and then that's kind of what raised even more eyebrows.
Yes.
Like, they not only went on the road and beat up Jinx the way they did, but they kind of expected to.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we worked really hard during the summer. We felt like we had a good game plan going into that game, and yeah, we weren't surprised at all.
For you as a guy who, you're a kicker, a punter, you're trying to attract college coaches, you're trying to get the attention of programs all across the country. You didn't have very many opportunities to kick field goals. Was there – okay, I want to have a little bit of fun here. Was there ever a moment where you're like, the ball's on the opponent's 30 or whatever, and you're like, man, I can drill a field goal right here. I hope the drive stalls out.
No, I've told Montgomery, like, hey, man, can you send me out there for, a little bit more? I asked him that one year, and he said, man, I definitely think we should. But at the same time, we got a dude named Brennan Presley out there that I'd really like to have the ball in his hands on fourth down. I was like, you know what? I can't really argue with that. I totally understand. I didn't punt very much either, so I would tell Brennan before the game kind of jokingly, like, hey, if you kind of want to cut it off a few yards on third down and send me out there for a punt every so often, that'd be nice throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's where you're able to showcase your talents.
Exactly.
And you kicked a lot of PATs to your credit, and then a lot of kickoffs as well. Just talk about that dynamic where you're having to stay a part of the game plan, things like that. But as we mentioned, you weren't having to punt a lot. You weren't having to kick very many field goals this season. On the sideline, how do you keep yourself, a part of what's happening in the game?
Luckily, we scored a lot, so I was on the field a lot. So I stayed dialed in. Almost all the time. And so big thing too is kickoffs take a pretty big toll on your body. So I was in the training room a lot, getting treatment, staying fresh. I mean, when you're doing, up to 8 kickoffs a game, it's a lot on your body. So it was good. It was a really good season with a lot of kickoffs.
Exactly. And you guys, you cap it off with a state championship. In one of the best games that we saw all year against Stillwater. Take me into the locker room and in the practice field before that game, because ever since really basically after you guys blew out Jinx and then you saw what Stillwater was doing, you knew what they had on the other side of the state. Ever since September, it was a foregone conclusion. It's Bixby and Stillwater, and sorry everybody else in 6A2, but it's those two teams, and then everybody else is playing for third, basically. What was that mindset like the week before the championship game, the bus ride over to Edmond, knowing that it was 1 versus 2? They're going to be pissed off because you got them last year in the title game. They're just as talented as you guys are, especially on the offensive side of the ball. What was that mindset like leading up to that game?
Honestly, we didn't have a different mindset going into that game than any other game. We knew what they were doing, though, and so we had gone undefeated. And so we just kind of knew going into it, like, hey, let's go ahead and finish this thing out. Let's go ahead and win this last game. And but we didn't have – the bus ride was the same as any other game. I mean, every practice was exactly the same. Obviously, guys are a lot more fired up because the state championship game. You got more time to practice. But mindset-wise, we were all really dialed in, and, I mean, we were ready to go.
Quantrell Walker breaks off one of the best runs that I've ever seen in person. He broke nearly everybody's tackle on the Bixby defense. He goes 70-plus, scores with I don't remember what it was, a little like 3 minutes left on the clock, and all of a sudden Bixby's down. There's 3 minutes left. What was the sideline like after that, after he scores? And you guys are in a spot that you haven't been in quite some time.
Yeah, it was – I don't know. I can't really remember it all that much, but I knew we were down 3. And so, I just kind of look up at the scoreboard. I'm like, I'm going to have to go out there, tie the ball game up.
Right.
And so my mindset totally changed. And, I mean, I was pretty locked in. But luckily we got Vernon Presley and Braylon Presley to, go all the way down. Krieger has a big run. And so, luckily, I never went out there. But I think we all knew that we stood a chance, even with the time left.
Krieger, that run after the catch was so huge. And then the decision immediately coming from the sideline to hit Stillwater with the hurry up and go ahead and get it out to Braylon in the slot on a little, quick screen. You definitely caught him off guard. He immediately scores. My first thought was, I've seen a lot of these games before, and my first thought was, there's over a minute left on the clock. Exactly. You guys might have scored too fast.
Exactly.
But you guys get it done. You stop Stillwater. And you're raising a goal ball. We talk about the bus ride over to Edmond. What was it like coming back? Because we mentioned how special this season was. A perfect season, first time it's ever done in school history. And you guys kind of solidified your legacy as a senior group.
Yeah, it was a bunch. On the bus ride back, it was kind of a mixture of relief that we were happy that, we went undefeated, but then it was also excitement. I mean, we had worked so hard during the summer and then every day at practice. And so there's a little bit of a mixture of both. Be honest with you, we were pretty beat up after the game. A lot of the guys were like, man, I'm ready to go home. And so, I mean, it's kind of a week-long celebration of, all of our accomplishments, but we were all super pumped.
Now, about a month later, you're on a trip down to San Antonio to participate in the Army All-American game. Talk me through, before we get to the experience itself, how did you get that opportunity? Because I know for specialists, for kickers and punters, it's a little more unique than, just being one of the top prospects in the country. Talk me through how you got selected.
So basically, I go to kind of these exposure camps to get recruited with Chris Saylor. And Chris Saylor had a camp in July, and he invited me out to it and said, hey, if you win this camp, whoever the winner is going to get the 2 spots. There's 2 punters selected, so the top 2 are going to get the 2 spots for the game. And so that was in late July, and so I won the camp, and so I was able to get selected. So I knew in late July I was going to do it, but I never really knew, how big of a deal it was when I got selected. And so, when I did go down there, we get on this bus right after we get off the airplane, and I walk up the bus, and I look to my right, and the first seat's the number 1 player in the country. I look to my left, number 1 offensive tackle in the country. Top 2 quarterbacks in the country are standing right there behind them. And that just kind of set the tone really early for me. I mean, right when I got off the airplane, that this is a big deal for me.
Right. You mentioned winning the camp. You had to. What was that? I mean, what were the competitions that you had to go through? Obviously, you're competing against some of the other best kickers in this part of the country or all over the country, however it may be. What were those competitions like? What'd you end up doing?
So basically, I wanted to go as a punter, so I competed against all the other punters. And basically, what they did is they took hang time and distance, added them up together, and so that gave you a number. And so they did a bunch of different competitions of who could hit the most 4-5, 45-yard balls in a row. They did who could just hit the flat-out biggest ball. And they just did a bunch of those other competitions. And so then Sailor kind of grabs probably 5 of the top guys and then just puts them head-to-head. And I was one of the 5 he selected, and so then we just kind of competed against each other. And then, ended up winning out of those 5 and then got the spot.
And you get down to San Antonio. You mentioned kind of the eye-opening experience of being surrounded by some of the best players in the country. And we talk all the time about how Oklahoma, the guys that play in Oklahoma are just as good. I mean, the top prospects in Oklahoma are just as good as the top prospects anywhere else. And we definitely have that Oklahoma pride. But at the same time, now you're on a team full of all of the best players in the country from all over. It had to be an eye-opening experience. And I mean, what were the practices like? Because you get to watch the game as fans, but I know that one big part of the All-American experience is how competitive and how intense those practices are leading up to the game.
Crazy intense. I mean, all those guys that were there, I mean, most of them were graduating early, trying to establish a starting spot on there as a freshman, and they're going to big schools that were represented, and so their practices, I mean, they just can't go light. I mean, it's intense every play. And that was a huge eye-opening for me. I mean, I had, especially on punt, we started off with punt at practice, and I mean, those guys rushed hard to try to block that punt, and then I had guys block it for me. But I mean, it was a great experience.
What were the nerves like? Because I mean, you're getting rushed by some of the best defenders in the United States of America, guys who may or may not be future first-round NFL draft picks making millions and millions of dollars. Now that's 3, 4, 5 years from now, but still, I mean, it had to be a little different than lining up against Ponca City.
Exactly.
No offense to Ponca City.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was definitely nervous, but at the same time, I was just super excited for the experience. I had a number 1 snapper in the country too, so I knew the snaps were going to get back there to me with those guys rushing me. So I was really confident going out there, knowing that this is my last ever high school football game. So I was just trying to soak in every minute. I know a lot of guys will never be able to experience anything like that, so I was just trying to soak in every minute of it.
Let's talk about the gear, because I know you shared a picture of just the hotel room where I think it was one that Chris tweeted out actually, and it was just 2 beds, and you couldn't even see the bed because it was just covered in Adidas All-American stuff. Talk about all the gear that you got.
So that picture was actually just the first day. So that was right when I got there. They got this big bag and just tossed gear in there. And they had everything lined up for me, and I was like, oh, I don't really need all this stuff, right? Which I brought. I brought stuff for practice from my own closet, so I didn't even open up my suitcase that I brought. I mean, I was there for a week. I didn't even open that up. And so we got new stuff every day. I mean, I think we got probably a pair of shoes or 2, I mean, every single night. I mean, it was just incredible. It was incredible.
Did you have to ship any of it? Like, how'd the luggage situation turn out? 'Cause
Yeah.
Look, man, you go down there, you're not expecting anything like that, and all of a sudden you're having to bring, 5, 6 pairs of shoes back to Tulsa. Like, it's got to go somewhere.
So I walked into that hotel room with 1 bag, and I left with 4. I mean, so it was crazy year.
The game itself. You're playing in front of it's a nationally televised game. What was that experience like for you and for some of the other guys that were on your team and even the other team as well?
The day before, we walked into the Alamo Dome for the first time, and I have never played in an indoor facility before. So that just was huge, eye-opening for me. But then the game, I had never held before, and I was holding for my kicker that was committed to Michigan State, and he actually pulled his quad the second kickoff.
Really?
And so he came to the sideline and was like, I can't go. So I actually had not kicked since the state championship game. So what a crazy time to actually start kicking again, in the second half. And so obviously all of that was just incredible. And they love exciting plays, so special teams was big. They want the big returns, the onsides, and all that stuff. So the game was incredible. To be honest with you, I don't remember a lot of it. I was so locked in and enjoying it, but it was amazing.
All right, so we're here because we're doing we're talking with some of the top unsigned prospects in Oklahoma. So we definitely have to talk about your recruitment. I know that you've been getting a couple more opportunities that have come on board here in the last month. Just talk a little bit about where your head's at. I mean, we got a couple weeks to go before the next signing day begins, but where's your head at right now? A couple weeks before signing day.
So right now I have preferred walk-ons from Nebraska, OSU, and Kansas. I plan on taking an official visit to Kansas the 24th through the 26th. And then obviously I've been in contacts with schools like Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Houston, and so a lot of these schools are kind of coming in late. There's a guy, one of my good buddies, Noah Rauschenberg.
Yeah.
He didn't get his first big offer till I think the 21st or 22nd, and so I'm just kind of waiting the last minute. I understand, the kickers and punters are kind of recruited last, which is reasonable, and so I'm just kind of letting it play out. I like all of these schools that have given me an opportunity, and so I'm just kind of pursuing that and then seeing where everything takes me.
Have you had to figure out a new way to I mean, have you had to work on your patience, or you meditating at all, to try to calm yourself down? Because I'd be stressed out every single day, worrying about this stuff. How do you handle it day to day?
So honestly, I thought I was going to be committed to a school in the summer, and so this late, I just pray a lot about it. I know God has a path for me, and so I'm just trying to follow it. I know He's got a plan for me, so I know that a lot of kickers and punters don't have anything right now.
Yeah.
And so I could think of it as that, and I know there's a lot of good guys that absolutely don't have anything, and the signing day is coming up. So I mean, they're probably a lot more stressed than I am. At least I have some options. I'm very thankful for these schools that have provided me some options, but I'm just gonna wait and play it out.
You mentioned Noah, and without a doubt was arguably the best kicker in Oklahoma last year. And now he's, doing his thing down in Baylor. He actually saw plenty of playing time as a freshman down in Waco, and certainly interested to see what his future holds. How has he helped you? You mentioned him being a friend. How has he helped you through the process? Look, this is kind of this is par for the course, man. That they wait until the last minute to take care of arguably one of the more important positions, at least in crunch time. You're looking at a game-winning field goal. It's incredibly huge. But how has he helped you through this process?
So I went to camps with him a lot and talked about it, and he talked about just staying patient and just keep working hard. That's something that you can't control. This recruiting process I can't control. So I just control the things I can't control, which is get up, work hard every day, and that's kind of what I've been doing. And he's kind of provided the example too of just stay patient. Stuff's coming. Just keep working hard, and so. That's what he's kind of taught me.
When it comes to the schools that are talking to you, are they talking to you, as just a generic kicker? Or are they speaking to you specifically as a punter or a field goal specialist? How have they approached you with that?
Each school has something different. I think most schools overall want me for punting and kicking off. I know Oklahoma State wants me to do field goals for sure, and I think they all want me to come in and compete for all three. But I think they tell me pretty early, if they have, it's pretty obvious if they have, a freshman kicker or something that they're going to want me to come in and most likely punt and kick off. But I'm down to do all three. I want to compete for all three. I think I can do all three, but I know that I'm, better at the punting side and probably kicking off.
Right. Well, I mean, we have the last couple of years of evidence that says that, and obviously, winning camps and making it to the All-American Bowl certainly says that the expertise is on the punter, the kickoff side of things. Final question for you. It's a simple question for me to ask, not necessarily a simple answer, but what will whoever that college program that ends up getting you to sign that letter of intent, what will they be getting with Reis Vernon?
They're going to be getting a hard worker first off. I mean, I'm just going to come in and compete, but I think there's going to be more than just a football player. I think I'm going to give back to the community a lot, and that's something that I feel like I'm going to be a good representation of their program. Something that, for me is what I look into is where I feel at home, and so where I feel at home is where I feel comfortable. I'm going to be a successful man in life, and so that's something that they'll have.
It's impressive. He's an impressive kid, without a doubt. Reis, thank you so much for your time here today. Congratulations on a perfect season, state championship. You had another gold ball. I passed it when I was walking into the building. They got a nice new set of polish on it, so it's looking good. And congratulations on being an All-American. It was really fun to see you represent Oklahoma down there in San Antonio. And good luck with the rest of the process, man. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing where you sign in February.
Thank you for having me.